Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Great America Show. Good of you to be with us. Welcome. Well, new emails obtained by the House Ways and Means Committee show that the CIA prevented the DOJ from questioning Hunter Biden's sugar brother, Kevin Morris. Morris was to be questioned as a witness in the probe of Hunter Biden, but the CIA stopped all of that. How did they do that? The new revelations come from the emails of IRS whistleblower Gary Shapley. During a prosecution team conference call around late August of that year, Assistant U.S. Attorney Leslie Wolf told the team that she and DOJ tax attorney Jack Morgan had recently returned from CIA headquarters in Langley. They had been summoned to the headquarters to talk about none other than Hollywood hotshot lawyer Kevin Morris. Wolf stated they were provided a classified briefing in relation to Morris, and as a result, they could no longer pursue him as a witness. And just like that, presto, talking to Morris was off the table. It begs the question, why was the CIA intervening in a simple tax fraud case? And we may never know. Marxist Attorney General Merrick Garland, though, has had a big role in all of this, responding to the latest unsealed documents that showed Garland approved the use of deadly force in the FBI raid of Mar-a-Lago. Garland disputed that document that is written in black and white, by the way, saying, quote, "That allegation is false and it is extremely dangerous." The document that has been referred to in the allegation is the Justice Department's standard policy limiting the use of force, said Garland. Bull. So first, Garland calls it an allegation, then a sentence later calls it standard operating procedure. So which one is it? These liars just keep tripping themselves up, and they've had so much practice you wouldn't think that would happen. President Trump, in a recent interview with Katz and Cosby's podcast, revealing that Joe Biden had requested their upcoming presidential debate be both without an audience and both debaters be sitting down.
We're all set up for a debate. And if he gets through the debate, they'll say it was brilliant. It was brilliant. You know, she get through the debate. But if he does, we have a debate. I hear now we're sitting at tables. I don't want to sit at a table. I said, no, let's stand. But they want to sit at a table. So we'll be sitting at a table as opposed to, doing it the way you should be, in my opinion, in a debate. You walk out to a podium and you stand for an hour and a half or 2 hours. But they have them sitting at a table, so that's not so good. I just heard that. That was another one of their many. But I agree to their request because I want to debate this. I want to debate them.
President Trump seems very eager to just get Biden to that debate stage no matter what he does. He's accepted some, disadvantageous terms. I want to get to our guest's take on all of this. Our guest is Roger Stone, top Republican strategist, longtime aide to President Trump, host of the StoneZONE podcast. And now here is Roger Stone. Roger, great to have you with us. Thanks for joining us. And I don't know where to start right now. There's so much going on, and it's all crazy. But I'm going to start with President Trump revealing on a podcast that the Biden White House asked him if the two debaters could sit down for that arduous confrontation. I mean, this gets worse and worse for this guy.
Well, look, President Trump has already accepted terms that I think are advantageous to Joe Biden. The idea that CNN can turn off President Trump's microphone while Joe Biden is speaking, frankly, interrupts President Trump's debate style. I'm interested in a debate, back and forth. I'm not interested in one canned statement, then another canned statement, then another canned statement. We want to see these guys mix it up. That's what the American people want. That's a great American political tradition in this country. Politics ain't beanbag. The President Trump is so anxious to get at Joe Biden and his miserable record that I think he has agreed to terms that are disadvantageous to him. Right. Such as the one I just referred to, no studio audience. He has Jake Tapper and Dana Bash as the moderators. It means it's 3-on-1, Biden plus the two of them versus Donald Trump. And now Joe is so feeble, He can't even stand up through an entire debate. So I like the President Trump's suggestion, which is Joe Biden should be subjected to drug testing prior to the debate. Because if that State of the Union performance was any indicator, he sure looked hopped up on something to me.
Well, higher than a kite, however President Trump said it. He's right. I mean, I couldn't believe this man was the same fellow that we'd just seen for the 2 months previous. Suddenly he shows up there and he is bouncing off the walls, for crying out loud. There's no question he's on something when he has these brief moments of lucidity. Do you think?
I think it's, and you can kind of see him wind down. In other words, you can see what happens when whatever medication they have him on to keep him more alert begins to wear off. He begins to fade. I don't think this guy could do an hour-long debate, to tell you the truth. So we shall see as this goes forward. But I really think that Biden here was caught by surprise. He made this challenge confident that Trump would say no. Then he would have said, oh, well, I offered to debate, but Trump wouldn't do it. So the debate question's over. He would feel immune from an attack by President Trump that Biden refused to debate. Surprise. Trump is a brawler, and I don't care what the debate rules are. I think he'll come out on top in debate.
I couldn't agree more. As we're watching what is happening with this White House, the wheels are coming off. The visibility now into the corruption in this White House, in the Department of Justice, the FBI, it's been pretty vivid. But once you start authorizing deadly force for the FBI, its SWAT teams in a raid on the president's estate, Mar-a-Lago, you've just gotten to the point where the American people are going to tell you to go to hell, I believe.
Well, look, I'm not a former president, but Luz, I'm sure you remember on January 25th, 2019, I opened my front door looking down the barrel of 3 M4 fully automatic assault weapons pointed at my head by FBI agents. Completely unnecessary. For the first time, nonviolent alleged crime of lying to Congress, an absurdity. All they had to do, of course, was contact my lawyer, and I would have turned myself in and saved the taxpayers $1.1 million, which was the cost of the raid on my home. Also mentioned that my wife, who is virtually deaf without hearing aids, she woke up looking down the barrel of 2 assault weapons. She didn't know it was a home invasion. She had no idea what had transpired because, of course, she cannot hear. So this is not new for them. These are bully tactics, but very, very concerning. Now, President Trump was not in Florida at the time of the raid. Those who say, oh, this was a planned assassination attempt, I think that's taking it a bit far, but unnecessary to have the show of force or the authority to use deadly force when you're going in looking for documents. Makes you wonder, Lou, what document is it that they're concerned about? What document is it that Donald Trump had that they don't want the American people to see? That's the question I keep asking.
Yeah, and as do I. And actually, I've convinced myself they didn't get it in that raid, in the first raid, and that the president has whatever document it is they're seeking safely stashed somewhere. I'm hoping that's the case because of just the brutality of what they attempted and the absolute lawless FBI that is corrupt to, I used to say there are good people within the FBI, and I'm sure there are, but man, they're not very visible, are they?
It is pretty shocking. I think the judge in the Florida documents case has done the public an enormous service.
Yes.
She's, of course, being attacked because she was appointed by Donald Trump. That doesn't make much sense because the judge who sat in judgment on General Flynn, on Paul Manafort, on myself, they were all appointed by Barack Obama. And of course, the whole Russian collusion hoax was born in his office with him present. But you didn't see people saying, oh, well, that judge was appointed by Obama, so it's inappropriate for him to sit in these trials. Again, the two-tiered justice system. One of my favorites, Richard Nixon argued that his tapes, the famous Watergate tapes, White House tapes, were his personal property and they were protected by executive privilege. executive privilege was respected by the U.S. Supreme Court for hundreds of years until the question of Richard Nixon's tapes arose. And then I frankly think Nixon versus Fitzgerald was wrongly decided because of the political hysteria of the times. Now, however, the Congress has sent a subpoena for the audio tape of Joe Biden's interview with the special counsel, Robert Hur, and the White House is refusing to turn it over, claiming executive privilege. Right. Cannot have it both ways. If it's good for Richard Nixon, then it's good for Joe Biden.
And do you think that the Supreme Court would reach that same conclusion? I'm concerned that they would not, irrespective of the law, the Constitution, and the logic.
Well, it's almost an analogous situation. I mean, right. The argument that's being made right now against release of the tape is, well, we have a transcript. Nixon had released transcripts of all of his tapes as well. The court said that was insufficient. So I'm not an attorney, you know that, but going on the basis of precedent, it would seem logical to me that the court would be would have to ultimately decide that the tape should be turned over to have any kind of legal consistency whatsoever. It's an interesting question, to say the least.
Absolutely. We're talking with Roger Stone, and we're talking about history being made by, it seems, the day, and it's not all good history. Hopefully the result and the next chapter will be very good indeed for the Republic. We'll be right back with Roger Stone. Stay with us.
Wellness Company and their doctors are medical professionals you can trust. And their new medical emergency kits are the gold standard when it comes to keeping you safe and healthy. This medical emergency kit contains an assortment of life-saving medications, including ivermectin, Z-Pak. Rest assured, knowing that you have emergency antibiotics, antivirals, and antiparasitics on hand to help you and your family stay safe from whatever life throws at you next.
We're back now with Roger Stone. And Roger, this is a fascinating moment in history. If one can maintain both a sense of proportion and irony and some sense of humor about what is happening. But it's difficult always. The CIA, it turns out, we now learn, blocked the Department of Justice from interviewing Hunter Biden's attorney, Kevin Morris, the Hollywood hotshot attorney who was also Hunter's sugar daddy. And I thought, well, if they start doing that, what more could they do? I mean, they are absolutely have taken the gloves off. They're saying that nothing will happen to a Biden, and we will use the CIA, which now has superior power to the Department of Justice domestically. This is getting rather nifty, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's abundantly clear that the Department of Justice and the U.S. Attorney in Delaware have sought to shield Hunter Biden. It's interesting, Biden's attorneys moved that the tax case against him be dismissed, saying that Roger Stone, his wife, had been allowed to evade taxes. Completely and totally false. Lou, I do owe the IRS money. There's no question about that. I got no special break. 3/4 of what I owe them is interest and penalties that they won't negotiate. There's no tax evasion. I reported every penny of income. Hunter Biden failed to report almost $10 million in income. My wife and I provided an accurate assessment of all our meager assets. So this, as the federal judge says, this is apples and oranges. I unfortunately don't have a sugar daddy who can swoop in and write a $2 million check to pay my back taxes. I will be paying for the rest of my life with interest and penalties. Not so Hunter Biden. The U.S. Attorney in Delaware waited the 5 years to let the tax debt expire so that they could not bring an action, whereas the Biden Justice Department moved against me because some of my back taxes were about to expire. By the way, I made 9 years of payments every month on time without fail. So any claim that I evaded taxes, completely false.
Well, and to see the heavy hand of a corrupt Department of Justice and frankly, the Internal Revenue Service, the brave whistleblowers notwithstanding from the IRS, who made a tremendous contribution to the public's right to know. I mean, we're in terrible times in terms of the integrity, the ethics, and frankly, whether or not they're law-abiding or renegades. We're looking at a government right now that is politically corrupt to the bone. Would you not agree?
It certainly appears that way. I'm a veteran of 45 years in American politics. Today is a very special day because, as you'll remember, Lou, Ronald Reagan went to the South Bronx. He was the last Republican presidential candidate to do so. I was a major advocate for that campaign stop. I worked to put the event together. I really think it's important that symbolically that President Trump go to the South Bronx today. It is symbolic of the fact that we're going to go into all of the cities: Milwaukee, Detroit, Miami, Philadelphia, and so on. And the polls show that Trump's appeal in all of those places is really substantial. He's already making historic gains, and we haven't even gotten to the convention yet. So I think this is a very important event today, and I'm really anxious to see how it works out.
Well, you and me both, and I'm sure millions and millions of other Americans as well, to see the President Trump in the South Bronx after spending so much time in Manhattan with another political persecution authored by George Soros and the DOJ and White House, of course. It is really something to see him to go there. We've seen him in various venues, areas, but this could be the topper because he's already been cheered in Manhattan, which people didn't think would happen. I think he's going to be cheered as well, and loudly, and with a great noise surrounding him. Don't you?
First of all, I think he's going to have a huge crowd. My understanding is that the just folks who had confirmed their participation, the numbers were off the charts. This, they tell me, is a little different. It's not his standard rally. There's no, early admission, or there's no VIP section. It's more like a traditional campaign stop. He's obviously going to have counter protesters. That's fine. We believe in free speech anyway, even if they don't. But I think he's going to have a huge crowd. And look, the numbers don't lie. He's making serious inroads among African Americans. He's making even more serious inroads at this point among Hispanic Americans. These are traditionally, as you know, Lou, solid Democrat coalition voter groups. I think these folks are looking for prosperity. They're looking for opportunity. I'll tell you what they're not looking for: $4 a gallon gas. That's what they're not looking for.
And Biden is just walking through this, seemingly sleepwalking through it. There's not enough energy in the White House, whether brought by him or any of his Obama acolytes who round out the staff. They're the substance of the staff. We're looking at a president right now that has a brewing disaster on his hands. Another one like Afghanistan. 1,000 of our troops in Niger being held hostage until at least September, and the hostage ransom is $100 million plus base we built there. I don't understand how Biden can possibly, despite the support of the Marxist corporate media, I don't understand how he can withstand all that is being made known.
Well, look, I think there's substantial risk for him in a debate prior to the two nominating conventions. This has never happened in history before. And if he has a disastrous debate, which is highly likely, there's enough time to replace him at the upcoming Democratic National Convention. It's interesting that Ohio is barring him from the ballot unless the Democratic National Committee files a certain document which certifies that he will be the nominee, which for some strange reason they're refusing to do. So I've long thought that it was possible that Joe could withdraw prior to the convention, throw his delegates, to the wind, basically release his delegates, and then the convention could work its will, could draft a candidate. I've suggested that the most popular Democrat in the country is probably Michelle Obama. Her husband's not eligible to be nominated again, but she is. And I've suggested that as a very real possibility, which I still think is entirely possible. Huge risk in going to this pre-convention debate. But then Joe Biden is the one who issued the challenge. Again, I think he's shocked that President Trump jumped on it and said, okay, pal, when and where. And
as we go to break here, what do you think? Will he accept the drug challenge?
Not a chance in the world. So, I mean, it is these guys are like two wrestlers kind of eyeing each other. But Joe Biden's not up to this. He's not up to any kind of open format back and forth with Donald Trump. So the truth is, he'll be looking for a reason to avoid a debate. Therefore, he could refuse to take a drug test, in which case Trump could dump the CNN debate and then start goading him about other debates. Why you would go to a debate at CNN, I'm not certain, other than the fact that Joe issued the challenge and the president stepped right up. That's not what they expected. This was a ploy, and it was a ploy that failed.
Big time. We're talking with political strategist Roger Stone, and a terrific American. We're coming right back with him and his views on what awaits us on the trip to November 5th. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Wellness Company and their doctors are medical professionals you can trust. And their new medical emergency kits are the gold standard when it comes to keeping you safe and healthy. This medical emergency kit contains an assortment of life-saving medications, including ivermectin, Z-Pak. Rest assured, knowing that you have emergency antibiotics, antivirals, and antiparasitics on hand to help you and your family stay safe from whatever life throws at you next.
We're back. We're talking with Roger Stone. And Roger, again, really appreciate you taking time to join us. I want to turn to Merrick Garland, who is now the villain of the piece, film of the piece, P-I-E-C-E, as he is now no longer seen as the victim, which he obviously loves to project himself as. He is now the dirty villain in so much we find out in the entire run-up to Mar-a-Lago, the FBI raid, in deadly force. We find out, as you point out, you were met with a similar faces on the part of Justice Department, FBI officers at 6 a.m. This is so very different because they're projecting that this is just standard procedure. They are insisting that there was nothing to this deadly force thing, but yet they had a medic with the SWAT units. They had also a trauma center identified as the go-to trauma center for anyone wounded, injured, or otherwise. This is quite different, and no one has ever had, no president has ever had a greeting like Mar-a-Lago got from the Department of Justice and the FBI. This is pretty thin gruel for them to try to keep insisting it's just another day at the Department of Justice.
Well, the other thing we clearly learned from the documents that the judge ordered unredacted is when Joe Biden said he didn't know about this raid in advance, he was lying. He knew all about it. Yes, just another example of the lies that have been told. The idea that a former president was going to be tried under the Espionage Act, which I don't even think is the governing law. Right. You'll remember that Judge Amy Berman Jackson, who was the judge in my case, ruled that Bill Clinton could do anything with his presidential documents he wanted. In fact, he could keep some of them in his sock drawer at home if he wanted to. Why is it different for Donald Trump? The governing law here, I think, is the Presidential Records Act, in which case the president can decide what to keep and what to send back to the National Archives. There's more to this, Lou. I don't know. And I think it goes to the question of what document are we talking about? Are these the Crossfire Hurricane files? Is that what they're so anxious to get their hands on? But the idea that the witnesses went to a grand jury in D.C., and then they took the transcript of the grand jury proceedings and played it for a Florida grand jury, So therefore, the grand jurors had no opportunity to ask questions. In order to get an indictment within the proper jurisdiction, I can't find a lawyer who's ever heard of that happening ever previously.
And lawyers who I respect, a number of them have said, and they're Democrats as well, and some of them leading Democrats, they've said this is awful. They admit that in private, but won't say anything publicly. And I think the shame is that we don't have leaders in this society of ours in 2024 who won't say this is a disgrace for the judiciary. It's a disgrace for the prosecutors. It is a disgrace for the Democratic Party, and the Republican Party can't find a voice, it seems, adequate to the threat to the republic. Your thoughts as we wrap up here?
I think you're absolutely right. Our problem today are not the screwball socialist Marxist Democrats. We know exactly where they're coming from. Our problem today are the gutless, feckless, weak-kneed, lily-livered, white wine swilling establishment Republicans who don't seem to have the courage to confront these issues. We have theoretically the purse strings, but there's no effort to impound funding for the Department of Justice or for Special Counsel Jack Smith. There's no appetite for that. There doesn't really seem to be an appetite to impeach Joe Biden, although there's more than enough evidence to do so today, far more evidence than was ever considered in the successful efforts to file articles of impeachment against Donald Trump, which took, as I recall, 6 whole days. Meanwhile, the Republicans continue to fritter and do nothing. It's really disheartening and disgraceful.
I concur. Absolutely. Roger, always great to talk with you, always informative and if I may use the word, fun. Thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate it, and God bless you, Roger.
Thank you, Lou, and God bless you.
Thanks, everybody, for being with us. Be sure to join us tomorrow for the Great America Show. Our guest will be Noel Fritsch, publisher of The National File. And be sure to follow me on Twitter and True Social at Lou Dobbs, and on Facebook and Instagram at Lou Dobbs Tonight. And please join us each and every weeknight for Lou Dobbs Tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, on Frank Speech, Rumble, X, Roku, and a number of other important platforms as well. Thanks, everybody. God bless you, and may God bless America.